JT Crowley is talking books. On the show, you'll hear from emerging talent and seasoned veterans from around the world.
Hello, I'm JT Crowley, the host of Talking Book Show on Web Talk Radio. And today I welcome back Roselyn Tuekolsky from Pasadena, Los Angeles for the second time to talk about her second book in the Madeline Geiger Thriller Series, The Fourth Woman. All I can say at this early stage of the interview is that we're all on an adventure, everybody. This is going to be an adventure ride. Believe you me, expect the unexpected. That's all I say. Now, if you want to know a little bit more detail about The Fourth Woman, then take a look at the written introduction that accompanies this podcast interview. And there you'll be able to see Roz's web pages, her social media sites, her publisher's details. So go and have a look at them. Go, especially the web page. Go and explore, find out a little bit more who she is and what this second book in the Madeline Geiger Thriller Series is all about. Because the first interview we do was all about a reluctant spy. And so this is the next book in the series. Now, I make this very, very clear to you all that yes, it's a series, but no, the books are standalone. The stories are standalone, but the characters are what make the series. Madeline, her mother, and the other characters, they're the ones that flow through the books, but the storylines are standalone. So you can read them in any order you like. There you go. I've said it to you all. Now, I'm not going to say much more because I want to bring Ros back onto the show so that she can introduce herself and say who she is. So, Ros, come and join me.
Hello. Thank you for inviting me.
And of course, this time you're in sunny California. I think the last time we did it, I think that's what you were in California, but you flitted between New York State and California, but now you just reside in California. You've had enough of the New York cold.
Given the weather in upstate New York, I think I made a good move.
I think you did, yeah, especially this time of the year, yeah. Ros, it's great to see you back, and it's great to see another book in the series. So could you just, remind the audience, the readership, who you are, who is Madeline Geiger, the main character of your books, and what's the overriding backdrop to this thriller series?
Well, during my real life, I was a high school math and computer science teacher for many years, almost 40 years. And so I developed an expertise about computers, but I always had it in my mind when I retired, I would become a writer and I would write thrillers. So I started out writing a thriller. My debut novel was Reluctant Spy. And I came up with a woman who was brilliant, very retiring, quiet, shy. But she gets roped into being a spy at Cornell University. And as the book proceeds and she discovers more and more, she becomes more and more capable, less and less shy. And she solves the problem. And she becomes quite a killer during the book. Now, I would like to say that Madeline is a larger-than-life version of myself. She's taller than me, smarter than me, much more daring than I am. She jumps out of airplanes, which is the last thing on God's earth that I would ever do. But she is how I envisioned myself if I had lived another life. And certainly when we return in the second book, The Fourth Woman, she's left that old persona behind. She is now older, wiser, more sophisticated. She has her own business. She has a cyber, she has her own cyber business where she protects other people's computers. And she's just a very strong character. But, she's been a widow for 3 years, and now she is ready to find love, to look for love. And that's where we find her in the second book.
It is. And when I looked at this book, I mean, her company is Cyber Solutions. When I looked at Madeline, I'm finding she's more complex this time. Yes, she's becoming out a little bit more adventurous on the dating apps, and we'll go into that a little bit later. But she's not the straightforward character that either you want her to be or what you expect. She's very, very different. She's quite a complex character, everybody. And you need your main character to be complex with all sorts of issues. Otherwise, it's just not a good read. So, Ros has done a great job here. She's put all those characteristics into Madeline. Now, whether she is really Madeline with this complexity and diversity, well, I don't know. You choose.
And I won't tell.
And she's not telling. You're going to have to read the book and think, oh, is Roselyn Tuekolsky like this? Or is this her imagining that's what she would like to be? I'll let you choose, everybody. So, now there are 58 chapters to this book, everybody. The second book, The Fourth Woman. Who is the fourth woman? Now, we're not going to go into all 58 chapters because that's not the point. We're here just to give you a good idea as to what you can expect from the book. And, so Roselyn and I have highlighted some chapters that we feel would best give you an inkling, an intrigue, whet your appetite as to what you can expect. So, Ros, let's kickstart the interview off with the chapters 1 and 2. And you start off, with an online date. I'm thinking, here we go. But that gets put in jeopardy when she sees, and I'm referring to Madeline here, a ransomware message on her screen. As she puts it, in a computer hack is a disaster. For what she does to get a ransom hack like this could be absolutely catastrophic for her, her business. She's a crackerjack cybersecurity expert whose company, Madeline Geiger Thriller Solutions, motto is "Your computer is my business." So her reputation is at serious damage here, and it's looming, and she needs to do something about it. Her way of life is being put at risk. Now, Madeline is 33, a widow, destined to be single and, as she says it, sex-starved forever. Don't think so. The character Shauna, her employee, is on another online date. And then we've got Vincent, the neurobiologist. Now, he is a very, very interesting character, everybody. So you've brought these characters to our attention here right at the early onset of the book, plus, Madeline's mother. And you mentioned the earliest set of dementia. So my question to you, Ros, is why have you opened up the book with these storylines? And what do you want the readers to get from this powerful opening start?
Well, the question is, can you craft a thriller that combines an ailing mother, an extremely complex and creepy caregiver, a neurobiologist who is stalking her because he won't take no when she tries to say goodbye. And those elements seem to be disparate elements. And she's seeking love. How do we put love and caregiving and a thriller and a techno thriller at that? How do you combine those elements into a single thriller? Well, that's what I set out to do. And by all accounts, I succeeded because I got to the end of the book. And some people have read it and said, wow, they enjoyed it. So who knows? You know, those are the things that any person deals with. Parents, ailing parents, love life, you're running your business, you're trying to find someone nice to date, and then you get this person that you're trying to say no to, who doesn't fall in line. The caregiver, well, she doesn't have her choice of caregivers because she needs a full-time person to live in the house with her mother, who is extremely difficult. How do you craft a thriller out of that? And that was my goal. And that's what I did. And I wanted all those elements, because in any life, to make it realistic, it's not just you against the guy you're dating. It's your mother, it's the people who are there, it's your business. Everything that you have to worry about comes into play. And how do you juggle it all? And can you, as a writer, make it exciting? That's the question I'll find out. Will it flop? Perhaps.
Did you enjoy coming up with the ransomware?
I did, because I wanted so again, talk of writing a thriller. I wanted an exciting beginning, because the last thing you want is the reader to open the book and say, oh my God, this is boring. And ransomware is not boring, especially when she's about to go on a hot date and she now must make a choice. And of course, she chooses her business. So the date doesn't start well right from the go. She cancels it. And that's interesting. You know, there are people who take their dates more seriously than their place of work. And she makes a decision where, of course, it's the work she has to fix this. So the date has started badly. And the reader is saying, I hope, how is this going to go now? You know, she's invested a lot in this dating and starts by canceling because of the ransomware. And I'm interested in the ransomware because I'm a computer person. And this has become more and more frequent. Ransomware is a real problem in the country now. A lot of people are hit with it.
And I wondered where you came from with some of what the actions Madeline is going to do. And I'm not going to go there. You want to know what she does? Read the book. Now, Ros, let's skip along this book here. And I'd like to go to around the area of chapters 9 and 10. Madeline and Vincent are in Vincent's lab. Not good. A rat. A mouse experiment. A second date with an edge. Rodent experiments. Mrs. Orbach. Now she is, well, I'll let Ros tell you who she is. She's already mentioned who she is, but we didn't put a name to her. But this is her name. She's the carer. Ros, why the contents of these two chapters and what's their significance to the overall storyline?
Well, she goes out with Vince and she agrees to go and see his lab because he's extremely excited about his lab and the work he does, how he's working to benefit mankind. And on the date, because she's nervous, she has a little bit much to drink. And in a weak moment, she agrees to go and see his lab. She regrets it, but she agrees. So there they are. They walk to his lab. And he's carrying out experiments which seem perfectly reasonable on mice and rats. He doesn't hurt them. And he's examining their brains and how to influence their behavior and the normal mice rat experiments that you hear about. But they repulse her. She's repulsed by it and decides she wants to say goodbye. That is a key chapter, because what Vince does recurs as a theme throughout the book. She struggles to get rid of him then, and she struggles to get rid of him throughout the book. So that is a pivotal chapter. The audience needs to see, the reader needs to see what it is Vince does that repels her so. So that is that piece of it. And the other crucial piece is finally someone has applied for the job of caregiver for Madeline's mother, because Madeline has found that she can't leave her mother alone. And yet she has to. She has to come to work. She has offices, she has customers, she has clients. So finally, someone has shown up. And this woman is sinister, but compliant. She agrees to start immediately. She claims she understands the situation. She agrees to live in the little apartment at the top of Madeline's old Victorian house in Cambridge. She has a suite of rooms, 2 flights up, and she requires that Mrs. Auerbach live there. And Mrs. Auerbach looks at it and says, it's fine. The mother hates Mrs. Auerbach from the go, which is predictable. Mother dislikes anybody being there to care for her. And so there is constant conflict. So what I introduce in this chapter is the conflict between Madeline's mother and Mrs. Auerbach, the conflict between Madeline and Mrs. Auerbach, and the conflict between Madeline and Vince. And they're all embroiled. They all get involved with each other. So it's a crucial chapter.
And that's why when I looked at it, I thought we need to go to this part of the book, these 2 chapters, because it really does set the scene very much so, everybody. As I said, we're just going to sample some chapters here. So, Ros, let's go to chapters 14 and 15. Buck and Leo are interesting characters, aren't they? Wow. We're back in Vincent's lab. Floorboards are coming up. Madeline's mother is having a bad day with her dementia. And Madeline has a date with Wanda. Are we batting on the other side here? Please, Ross, enlighten the reader as to what's, cracking off here.
Well,
And is Madeline experimenting with a different side to her sexuality? Because Wanda is a lady.
well, that's an interesting question.
That's why I asked it.
Wonder, when you enter this online dating thing, there are a lot of people who put up their profiles. And Wanda would like to meet Madeline. And Madeline says, why not? Madeline is so disillusioned with what she got with Vince. She likes the sight, she likes the signs in Wanda's profile. She is a brilliant mathematician. She has similar interests to Madeline. So Madeline's mother is horrified. And Madeline says to her, I'm going to meet her as a friend. I would like a new friend. And her mother says, and her mother, in a rare moment of lucidity, says, you don't join a dating site to find friends. And she hits it off with Wanda. Wanda is very nice to her. Madeline is going through a bit of a freak out because Vince is not going away. Vince has his thug, Leo, who also shows up in that chapter, is following her wherever she goes. And Madeline just wants a break from that. And when she meets Wanda that same afternoon, she says, jump in the car. We've got to get away from this man. Just drive back into Boston. And suddenly she and Wanda are madly driving through Boston. And Wanda is perfectly at ease doing that. And they hit it off that afternoon. They really like each other. And later on in the book, her mother says, you were married for 10 years. Since when do you like women? And Madeline says, I don't like women. I like this woman. So it's a complex relationship throughout that, kind of wrote itself. When you're writing a book, you have your outline. I had my outline. Definitely Vince being awful. Definitely Mrs. Albuck. Definitely Buck, who she needs. She needs a brilliant employee. But Wanda came upon the scene. She also showed up on the dating site. And I said, Madeline needs to get away. Why not? And then Wanda becomes a lovely character in the book. And I kept her and kept her and kept her. I'm not saying we're happily ever after here, but she just finds her way with the other characters in the book. There she is.
Wanda, for me, just sort of floated into your head as you were writing the story. And I think you went with her thinking, yes, this is an interesting angle. She fits very well with all the other characters.
I liked her.
She's in a different stream, but she's going to fit well. She's staying. I'm right, aren't I?
Yeah, I kept her. Certainly for this book, I kept her.
So that's as much as we're going to get out of Ros for this part of the book, everybody, because she likes to keep things to herself. Because if you want to know the answers, you're going to have to read the book. Now, chapters 20 and 21, Ros. Now, I'm not going to give the spiel, the introduction here. You tell us what these chapters are about. What is the reader and the audience going to hear here?
A marriage proposal.
I know.
Madeline can't get rid of Vince. And the more she can't get rid of him, the more present he is. And he writes her a very serious marriage proposal, which completely freaks her out to the point that she goes and reports him to the cops. And she shows this cop this wonderful marriage proposal, and she gets no sympathy from the cop. What he says to her is predictable. Most women would kill to get a marriage proposal like this. And he doesn't sympathize with her report of stalking at all. And this is when Madeline realizes she needs to get a gun to protect herself. She can't get protection from the police. She needs to protect herself. And you might say, why doesn't she use the normal channels to get a gun? Well, Madeline has been barred from buying a gun because of an unfortunate incident during a reluctant spy, which caused her name to be struck from the rolls. She's not allowed to get a gun, but that doesn't deter Madeline at all. See, my alter ego goes and buys a kit and makes a gun and saws down the edges, and she has a perfect gun for herself. But that's how the gun is introduced into the book.
I think you enjoy creating these scenes. I bet you enjoyed. Oh, how I bet you went and researched how do I make a gun? I bet you
I
enjoyed that.
did. I
Yeah.
enjoyed that, and I enjoyed Wonder. I just enjoy it all. It's so much fun. You're a bit of a megalomaniac when you're an author. You're the boss. You pull the strings. You want a ghost gun? You
Yeah.
put a ghost gun. You want a woman lover? You get one.
And I think at times you've got to think, well, I've done my research. Actually, I need to get on and write the story now. I need to put all these ideas into the book.
Well, did I?
But you did. You're great fun, with your imagination. Then you think, I better put this down on, get the typeboard out, and put it on the into the book.
Oh, I did.
She did. Now, Rosalind, the area of the book around chapters 29 and 30. So we are, we're halfway, everybody. Are fascinating. What caught my imagination here is Madeline asking Gretchen Orbach, been asked to take photos of her torso, body. A report to Cambridge Police Department, and the following words: kidnapped, handcuffed, blindfolded, drugged, blackmail, stalking, chloroform, ransomware, scramble brain syndrome. A dislike for Officer O'Connell, a visit to Dr. Patel. These are busy chapters, everyone. So, Ros, where are you steering the reader here in this part of the book? Are you setting us up for something exciting that's going to come very, very soon down the line?
Well, I would hope that it's been exciting all along, but I'm certainly escalating the drama because Madeline is kidnapped. So it's no longer just in her head or just on paper. It's in actuality where she is nabbed off the street and actually kidnapped. And I don't want to get details of what happens when she's kidnapped, but it is mighty scary. And in every sense of the word, she comes back a different woman. She escapes, she gets back. She is not the same. And this is where the book becomes different because Madeline has been very badly affected by what happened to her. And I can't say more, but the book becomes darker and the action escalates and takes on a much different tone than what it's had. So, for example, she is desperate when she asks Gretchen Auerbach to take photos of her back, to find photos of harm to her body.
Mm.
And again, say no more.
This is the character Madeline who I see you as giving many sides to. And yes, you are hotting the story up here. You're throwing more pebbles onto the pond, making more splashes.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it. That's true.
Yes, and it's now, for the reader at this critical stage of the book is must start to think, which way are the splashes going?
Yes, and they're escalating.
Indeed. Now, let's go to a bit further down the book to the area of the book around chapters 37 and 38. Roz, we have a very tense scene at Madeline's house. Her mother, Janet, a celebration, a diamond ring. Vince, Wanda, a break-in, a refusal, a road trip to Wanda's, the creepy housekeeper. She's creepy, all right. Wow. Care to spill the beans here? Elaborate with all these goings on?
Well, Vincent is at Madeline's house for dinner, which anyone listening to this interview might wonder if she dislikes Vincent so much, what is he doing at her house for dinner? Well, he has her over a barrel. He has the chance to blackmail her, and it's complicated. Madeline's mother thought that Madeline liked Vincent and she invited Vince for dinner. And Madeline's inclination is to uninvite him straight away. But Vince has video of her carrying her gun. There's previous chapters here that we've skipped over. And she will be in trouble if those photos get to the cops, because she's not allowed to have this illegal gun. So she has to invite Vince for dinner. She has to maintain that invitation. And her mother, Madeline's mother, puts all her heart and soul into cooking for the dinner. And Madeline is so freaked out by it, she begs Wanda to come to the dinner and help her out. Now, Wanda shows up late, but eventually they're all there. The mother, Mrs. Auerbach, Vince, Madeline, and Wanda. And the diamond ring in the middle of the table. Vince's proposal to Madeline. And what happens is Madeline says no and disappears with Wanda through the back door, and they drive to Wanda's house and leaving the situation behind. In a way, irresponsibly, but Madeline is depending on Mrs. Auerbach to be with her mother. So this is now a much more tense situation. What now?
That's what I said, this is the tense scene, and Ros has got all the key players now in one room. It's fascinating. And it's just given you the hint as to what's gone on, and just reminded you that for some reasons, why they're there is because of the previous chapters. And if you want to know what's in those chapters, guess what? We don't give much away. We're just here to whet the appetite, everybody. Now, the part of the book around chapters 45 and 46, Ros, think this is you setting up the reader for the final section of the book as you race to the finishing line. I know I use this saying many times because it's true. Madeline is struggling to cope with Vince stalking. Who wouldn't? He's the kind of guy that gets under women's skins. He does. He's an irritating so-and-so. And he's not afraid of the law. He's not. And he's not afraid of authority. In fact, he's clearly not afraid of a great deal. And we're seeing Madeline starting to really fall apart at the edges. Wanda is getting exasperated. And a laptop reveals phase 1 to 6. Yeah, now you do talk about phases 1 to 6 earlier in the book, and I said, if you want to know what phases 1 to 6 are, everybody, guess what? And I'm beginning, is Vincent experimenting on women without consent? That's what I'm thinking. I'm curious here. You certainly throw some twists into your storylines. What are you up to here?
I am not going to tell you what I'm up to.
I knew you wouldn't.
Because that
I thought I'd try.
That's giving too much away. But I will tell you that Vince has shown up at Wanda's place. He will not leave Madeline alone. And he says to Madeline, don't throw me out because I have something of interest to show you. And he shows Madeline a horrifying picture of Vince's lab with Madeline's mother and Mrs. Auerbach, the caregiver. All three of them are in Vince's lab with the mice and the rats, and it freaks Madeline out. And that's all I will say. That's a clue. But that gives a whole new idea to Madeline on what is going on. And it's it should be a horrifying moment for the readers in the book. But my lips are zipped.
I went, oh. And that's what a good book should do. It should make the reader at various times, various points throughout the storyline go, ooh, I must read
It does set
more.
up the climax. You're right.
She's pushing for the final line here, everybody. I'm talking about the final line. We're not going to go there, but we will go to one more chapter, 52. So there are 58 in the book. We're not going to the end of the book because that gives the whole game away, and we're not doing that. And chapter 52, now this is a punchy short chapter. Mum being a chaperone, another twist to the tale, no doubt. Just very, very briefly, what is chapter 52 about?
Another dinner. And this one, Vince has invited Madeline to his house for dinner. She shouldn't go, but she does. She wants to find the last piece of the puzzle, and it's in his house. And when he invites her, against her better judgment, against her lawyer's better judgment, she says yes. But she throws in a wrinkle. She says to Vince, "Can I bring my mother?" And he's not keen at all. And she says, "That's the condition. My mother is coming along with us. Otherwise, I'm not coming." And Vince wants her to come. So that's the wrinkle. Madeline makes her mother part of the plan, her dicey, loopy mother. This is not a foolproof plan. It could go wrong. Her mother has dementia. Not all plans are perfectly executed. Not all plans are perfectly thought out. Sometimes you can't come up with a better plan. And Madeline risks it. Takes her mother with her and gives her mother a role. And I'm not going to say how her mother does. Her mother becomes very involved in the final plot. And needless to say, I will simply assure the readers that Madeline ends up alive and Vince is vanquished.
How he's vanquished, everybody, is wait and see.
Because Madeline is taking part in book 3 right now, as we speak.
Isn't she clever? Because that was my next question. So we've gone through the book, everybody. You've got an idea what it's about. Now, this is a series, and I know that you've got another book in the pipeline. So would you care to tell the audience a little bit about the next ventures?
Yes, I will give the title. It's called The Last Donor. And one of the themes is organ donation. And I'm not going to say who needs an organ for what, but that is my plan, and that's how it's going. That's in my outline. And the last donor, I have an idea of who it will be and what it will be. And I would say I'm about 20 chapters in.
Any ideas as to when it's going to come out?
Well, if I spend my mornings having wonderful conversations with lovely people like you, John, it's going to take a very long time because this is my writing time.
She's such a smoothie.
No, that's right. Smooth as rocks.
Absolutely. So, I mean, Ross, who would you like to see reading your books, and where can they get them from?
Well, in the old days, when I was still green and untested, I used to say, my books are for mystery lovers
Hmm.
or for thriller lovers. But now I say they are for all people who like good stories, young, old. Okay, not children. These are not children's books, but anybody who's a teenager on, young, old. You like animal stories? I got good animals for you in the book. You like stories about creepy people? I've got a few of those. You like a good mystery? Well, we've got a good mystery or two. You like excitement? I've got excitement. Do you like creepy men? We got a few of those. Do you like creepy women? We got some of those too. It's for everyone, John. Everybody who likes a story they can't put down. That's what I'm promising you.
There you go,
It's,
everybody.
it's a tall order, but there you go.
It is a tall
People read
order.
it.
Mm,
People read it. I now know.
they do. And that's why she keeps writing them. So it's a new world for Ross, over the last few years, turning into writing, and she's thoroughly enjoying it. And that's why she's coming out with the third book. And so, which we all can't wait to read. So I just simply turn to Ross and say thank you very much for coming on the show again. And I wish you every success with the book.
Thank you, John. I always enjoy chatting to you. And if the third book makes it into this world despite you, I'll contact you again and maybe we'll have a chat next year.
Maybe we may. So, thank you for listening, everybody. Wherever in the world, stay safe. Until next time.